It started as a week. There was a scholar by the name of Dr. Carter G. Woodson who decided that he wanted to establish, and originally it was called Negro History Week. This was in 1925. Black History Month, African History Month, whatever we want to call it, is every day. But what I say, let's take it to the next level. It started as a week, it became a month, but now let's make it a lifetime.
Peace and blessings, everybody. I am your brother Orina, all the way from the motherland, all the way from Kenya, Nairobi, nation's capital. Welcome to Sell Afrika to Africans. Yet again, we have our elder, and I just have to give him his flowers again. And I want to say this is one of the people who inspired me to be the educator, to be the Pan-Africanist, to be the Black activist I am today. And I want to say thank you, Elder. Today we have a good discussion. How are you doing, Elder, today? How are you doing? How are you doing?
My brother Orina, I am doing excellent, and I want to thank you for this opportunity to be able to speak to our community. And I also want to thank you for the work that you're doing, bringing the information to our people. This is very key time right now. And I've been doing this for a while now, and I can see that our creator and ancestors walk with us, and it's making things happen.
Yes, many things are happening in the, in the global African race. We're all affected by the events that are happening, even here in Africa.
Yes.
But we'll talk about that later briefly. But it's Black History Month. And, Elder, I've always wondered, well, I know, but for people who don't know, why is February designated as Black History Month?
Well, my brother Orina, and to the family, you go back and realize it started as a week. There was a scholar by the name of Dr. Carter G. Woodson who decided that he wanted to establish a week. And originally it was called Negro History Week. This was in 1925. But what I want to stress to us as a people is that while Dr. Woodson established it as an actual celebration, we as an African people have always been in search of ourselves. One of the interesting things about life is that one of the things that we're born with is a divine destiny. Nobody can take that from you. They can block you from realizing it, but they can't take it from you. And what happened over the years of us as an African people in this hemisphere, as it relates to being enslaved, those who were enslaved and brought to Europe, to other parts of the world, and our brothers and sisters that were colonized in the mother continent. Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop, the great Senegalese scholar, he tells us in his book, Civilization or Barbarism, that when somebody wants to oppress you, this has nothing to do with culture now. This is just a human reality. When somebody wishes to oppress you, there are three things that they'll take from you. They'll take your history, they'll take your language, and they'll take your psychological factor. The great scholar, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, says that your psychological factor are what's called the VIPs, your values, your interests, and your principles. And when those who wish to oppress you take away your history, your language, your values, interests, and principles to control you, they then put their history, their language, their values, interests, and principles on you, so that those whom they wish to oppress whatever decisions they make in their life, it will never be in their best interest. Because the decision-making factors that they are taking into account are in the benefit of those who are wishing to oppress you. So it'll never come back out. But you see what's happening now. And I think that it's important for us to understand we have always been searching for ourselves. Ever since they enslaved us or colonized us in every facet of oppression. Because that divine gift is within you. Now, for some of us, coming up out of this mindset, we always knew that we had a history. And see, those of us here, I can't speak for the motherland, but I can speak here. I can't speak for colonialism because there are factors in colonialism that don't apply necessarily to being enslaved. And there are things that being enslaved do not apply to being colonized. But both instances take away your history, your language, values, interests, and principles. But you see, here in this hemisphere, it's important for us to understand what it was that they attempted to do. And that we have always had people searching for our history. Always, but it was never formalized like what Carter G. Woodson did. My first book that I wrote, this gentleman here, William Leo Hansberry, this is my first book. This gentleman was the first person of African descent. He was from Mississippi, foundational Black American, first one. He decided that he was going to develop 3 courses in African history. Because after the Civil War in the United States, they developed another form of oppression. And what they did was the only time Black folks studied their history was, like, for instance, when they studied the African American, they studied through American history. And so the African presence in America was just a side note. When we studied world history, the only time we ever studied Africa or the African diasporian experience was a side note. What William Leo Hansberry did in Howard University, a historically Black college, he developed the first 3 courses on African history. 1922. First time. He was a contemporary of Dr. Carter G. Woodson. And so they combined their forces and began to develop a method of studying our history in college, in an accredited college. But our ancestors always taught us the truth. They always taught us who we were. We just didn't have the opportunity to go to school because we were enslaved or in certain cases colonized. And so it started as a week. It was called Negro History Week. It started in 1925. And it coincided with another celebration from 1865, which is called Juneteenth. Juneteenth is another celebration that was celebrated when there were previously enslaved Africans who, after the Civil War and after African folk had been so-called emancipated or freed, the people in Texas didn't tell the Africans that. So the African folk still believed they were enslaved until there came the army, the Northern armies came and said, "You're free." And it was called Juneteenth because it was in June and it was 19. So it was Juneteenth. It was called Jubilee Day. And so that was a celebration. So when you're looking at this, the so-called emancipation of African folk, you get a sense of the fact that it was always building. And you see, this is what I try to get us to understand. We were always heading in this direction. It's just that as we began to fight back intellectually, physically, and spiritually, as we began to fight back, we began to make progress. And so now you come up to the civil rights movement in the 60s, and all of a sudden you have college campuses that are protesting, and now they want to study their history, and so they then begin a Black Studies program. New York had it, San Francisco had it, Chicago had it, Detroit had it. All over the country, they started to develop Black Studies programs. All of them, directly or indirectly, was impacted by William Leo Hansberry. So this is another key thing to understand, along with Carter G. Woodson. And so the work that I have been doing is to create curricula, you see, how to teach Black history. Because, it's, by the way, Brother Orina, it's not just history. It's science. It's math. You know, when I went to Egypt, I did a class on the math of the pyramids to help us understand exactly how the pyramids were built and the psychology of why they were built. Imhotep's pyramid in Saqqara, in Kush Kemet, or Egypt as it's called.
Yeah.
Imhotep, in building the step pyramid, created what we today call the Pythagorean theorem. That pyramid, the step pyramid, is built using the math that said a squared plus b squared equals c squared. When you look at the pyramid of Khufu, what's called the perfect pyramid, if you took the perimeter, if you took half of the perimeter and every side of the pyramid, okay, 751 feet, give or take, 755.5. If you took, and that, by the way, is if you took a 75-story building and turned it on its side in each direction. That's how massive the pyramids are. It's like a 75-story building turned on its side in all four directions. Millions of stone weighing somewhere between 2 and 13 tons. If you said 755, and I encourage the mathematicians that are watching this, check it out for yourself. Each side is 755 feet, give or take. The height of the pyramid is 481 feet, give or take. There's a percentage, 481.8 feet. If you took half of the perimeter and divided that by the height of the pyramid, it's equal to 3.14. It was used building pi, which is 3.14. So for me, teaching our history and culture is more than just history. It's about math, science, meduneter, or what's called hieroglyphics, language, symbology. You see, some people pigeonhole this as only history, places, dates, people. Okay, yeah, that's good, that's important, but that's social studies. But then you got to figure out, why did they build those pyramids there? Now you're dealing with geology. How did they build it there? What did they use to build it? There are people who are talking about the tools that were made to to cut the stone. That's impossible. They had to have had high-level technology skills. You know, the stones, my brother Orina, are so smooth. You know, when you take a table and you turn it over and you put the top, you know, where there's a table on top of a table, and when you try to lift off the top table, you can't because it's so smooth. There's no room, so you have to slide the top table off.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how smooth those stones are. And they didn't have no glue. They didn't use no mortar to put those stones in place. So now you're dealing with numbers of different facets that explore the genius of African people. Now, let me bring you to America. Because the hands that built the pyramids built the White House. Do you know here in the United States, in Washington, D.C., you have what's called the Capitol building? Right? But nobody tells you that black people built that building. Many of them were enslaved, but some of them were free. They built the Capitol building. Now, what they don't tell you is that on top of the Capitol building, there's a man. That's on top of the Capitol. That's a black man. And he's got a hat. It's called the Liberty Cap. When our ancestors built that building and put that man on top, they purposely made him a black man so that future generations, our generations, would look back and know what they did. That's how deep this is, Orina. We're a great people. Everywhere we go, everybody want to be like us. They want to look like us. They want to dance like us. They want to eat our foods. They love to hate us and hate to love us. It's just the way it is. So I tell us, own your greatness. Walk the earth and know. Don't get confused with what you see happening out here, because that's a distraction. And they're trying to distract you to take you away from the road that you're on to the total emancipation and liberation of black people everywhere. Don't get distracted. And so Black History Month, African History Month, whatever we want to call it, is every day. Yeah, it started as a week. It's become a month, February. But you see, in UK, Black History Month is October. It's not February. So that it is a time that we stop and we celebrate ourselves. But what I say, let's take it to the next level. It started as a week. It became a month. But now let's make it a lifetime. Live your history. Live your culture. Own your greatness. Our history didn't start in colonialism. It didn't start in enslavement. It started when we were the only people on the planet. And there was no other people on the planet but us. It's hard to believe, you know. You know, it's hard for us to put this thought in our head. And, you know, one of the things that I do when I work with people, I try to get them to understand. Can you imagine a world where it's only black people? For millions of years. Only black people. And when certain black people went north and got caught in the Ice Age, then they lost their pigmentation. Their hair got straight. Their body limbs got short. Their morphology grew. They grew hair on their body. And they became who we today call Europeans and Asians. But they're us. They are mutations of us. There's only one race on the planet, the human race. And that human race was conceived, born, nurtured, sustained, educated, technologized, and civilized in Africa. And when Africans got their show together, then they took it out on the world and they peopled the planet. The first people of America were black. The first people of Europe were black. The first people of Asia were black. And then they turned into the people we see today. It's just the way it happened. That is science. It is history. This is what I'm trying to talk about in another book I wrote called Carbon Before Melanin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for me, it's important for us to understand the study of the science of who we are. What makes our complexion what it is? What makes our hair texture what it is? What makes our nose shape the way it is? What makes our lips shape the way it is? And you got to go back to biology and you got to go back to climatology. And once you study that, then you know why you look the way you look. And then you'll stop trying to look like other people who make you think through the values that they have that you got to look like them. And the whole time they're trying to make you think you got to look like them, they're laying on the beach trying to look like you. They're getting plastic surgery in their bodies so that their bodies can look like yours. They're taking all sorts of drugs so that they can pump up their bodies to look like a melanated body. I'm not talking superiority or inferiority. I'm talking science. I don't talk superiority or inferiority because I believe that Dr. Martin Luther King was right when he talked about that he judged a person by the content of their character and not by the color of their skin or the isms that create schisms. I don't judge people like that. In science, the words are not superior and inferior. It's dominant and recessive. Dominant genes, recessive genes. The more melanated you are, the more dominant you are. The less melanin you have, the more recessive you are. And it's not just in your skin. Melanin is in every organ and gland in your body. If you didn't have it in your lungs, you wouldn't breathe. If you didn't have it in your heart, it wouldn't beat. If you didn't have it in your circulatory system, your blood wouldn't flow. If you didn't have it in your reproductive system, you wouldn't be able to reproduce yourself. If you didn't have it in your brain, neuromelanin, you couldn't think. So it's not about having it or not. Everybody has melanin, because if you didn't have it in your eyes, you couldn't see. If you didn't have it in, in your ears, you couldn't hear. So it's not about superiority or inferiority. It's about the fact that black people are the original people on the planet, and everybody is an African. From Africa, that is. And according to your genealogy that moved away from the heat of Africa, the heat of the sun determines your complexion. It determines the color of your hair. You notice the more north you go, the more blonde you become, the more blue your eyes are. Science, not personal. This is the black history that we need to understand. More than just people, places, dates, and things like that. You got to know the science, the math, the social studies, the language arts. You have to study the arts and crafts. You know, when you study the art of our people all over the world, what we have created. When I go to the museum and I see the Benin art, the doors, the carvings of the Benin people. When I look at the Nok culture of Nigeria. When we go to Nairobi, we see the art. When you look at the Maasai people, when you come to America and you see what we created, what we've developed, we built America.
Yeah.
You go to the Caribbean, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, Haiti, the artwork, the genius. We just have to remember it. We have to remember our history. We have to understand our language, because a lot of who we are comes out of language. Like, I'll give you an example. In Spanish, there is a word, respeto, respeto, which means respect. But it's more than respect. It's honor. Respétame, which means respect me. The way in which we interact with each other with honor, integrity. It's more than just the word we use when we say, oh, yo, man, respect. Okay, respect has its place. But in certain languages, it means more than just that. Honor, integrity, adoration. When you love somebody so much, you respect them. And so language becomes very important as we move through this process.
I agree. By the way, where can people find your books, Elder? Your books, they have really nice titles. And by the way you've explained them, they look like they have a lot of heavy information that can really help our people. Where can people find your books, and can someone like me in Kenya access your books?
Amazon is the best place to do it if you're not in the United States. Because, quite frankly, what it would cost for me to ship the book to outside the United States, like UK, United Kingdom, parts of Europe, parts of Africa, it would cost more than the book cost. And so, like, I like our people to save their money. I don't get paid as much through Amazon that I do than you buy it from me personally. But I would rather you save your money and do with it what you need to do, for what you got to do. So Amazon is the best place to get my books outside of the United States.
A book that I'm reading right now, Prof, and I'm sure you've read it, is the ISIS Papers by Dr. Francis Kaba. I'm telling you, and as I'm reading it, I'm telling people who I know that if you want to revolutionize your mind, man, you must read that book. You must read that book.
Absolutely. I work with Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, and she was a child psychiatrist. And because I work with children, I used to study with her how to teach the psychology. Because you see, when you're in a classroom talking to children, it's more than just what you're teaching. It's how you're teaching it. And in my book, Carbon Before Melanin, I quote her, and I quote the ISIS Papers. She was a phenomenal scholar, very soft-spoken, but her words were power. When you hear her talk, you never hear her raise her voice. I have never seen her get angry, but she hits you with some knowledge. That's an African tradition. That is our tradition of having the power in the word without having to use external power to make them powerful. Your words are the power. And that's how she spoke. She's a phenomenal human being, phenomenal person. I knew her since the 70s when she used to come to New York to do presentations. She was the first person that warned us that AIDS was coming. She told us about AIDS in the 70s. AIDS is an acquired immune deficiency. It's a virus that gets into your body. And when it gets into your body, the first thing it does, it searches for the weakest part of your body. So chances are, if you have problems with your lungs, you'll die of maybe lung cancer or bronchitis or pneumonia. If the weakest part of your body is kidneys, chances are you'll die, but it'll break down your immune system. That's what the HIV virus does. It breaks down your immune system. She was the first person that was telling us that there was a virus that was moving through the world. This was in the 70s now. And she was warning us of this. There was another brother by the name of Dr. Jack Felder. He was a New York City teacher, science teacher. He had a doctorate, brilliant brother. He was another one that warned us of what was coming. So when we see COVID, when we see another virus, we shouldn't be surprised. There's two types of vaccinations. I'm talking health now. And our ancestors had vaccinations. They had preventative and curative. Preventative was how you ate, how you drank, what you ate, what you drank, that prevented the virus from living inside of you. The moment it would come, your immune system was so strong, it would take out the virus. If you don't take care of your body, your immune system is not as strong. You know, it's like your bodyguard. Your immune system protects you. And every part of your body has an immune system. And this is the other thing that we get caught up in, because we think there's one immune system. There isn't. Your skin is an immune system. You have an immune system in your blood. You have an immune system in your lungs. You have an immune system in your circulatory system. Well, that's your blood. You have it in your skeletal system. So you have an immune system everywhere. And what you want to do in life is you want to eat the proper foods. You want to drink the proper drinks that build up your immune system. That is preventative. Curative is when you've already got the virus and you've got to do things to kill it when it's in your body. But the most important vaccine is your preventative one. Stop eating things that ain't supposed to be in your body. Stop drinking things that you ain't supposed to be drinking. And whatever you do, make sure you are always cleansing your system. Because nowadays we go and we eat, but we don't purge the toxins out of our body. When we were more in tune with nature, we knew how to do this. Our mothers and grandmothers and our families used to make sure they purged you. They gave you something that, boy, you sat down and you took care, you purged everything out of your system. Nowadays, we don't do that because we're all into fast foods. We're all into drinking things. And, you know, and then when you get older, you start to mature, your body starts to talk to you. So you got to do this from young. You know, a lot of people, as they get older, they get sick, and then they start doing things to cure themselves. But when you're in tune with nature, you're doing this from the moment you're born. In fact, your mother was preparing your body when she was bringing you through your 10 months of gestation. She was eating the proper things and drinking the proper things. She was singing the proper songs, and she was associating with the proper people. And from that, babies were born healthy. And then you ate certain things that built up your immune system. So by the time you got to a certain age, you didn't get sick. It was just like that. You didn't get sick. And that's no big miracle. That's just proper diet and nutrition. So these are the types of things that, for me, this is Black history.
Yeah.
Because you see, Brother Orina, you can be the most intelligent teacher. You can be the most phenomenal athlete. You can be the richest person. You can be the most brilliant politician. But if your body's sick, it don't make a difference how great you are. You're sick. I've been going to Dr. Sebi since 1988. He's an African biomineralist. He was in Brooklyn here. And I've been going to him since October of 1988. I've been taking his herbs. I've been taking all the things. And all these herbs are based on the way in which the Black body is built. He was from Honduras in Central America. And I used to go to the center. We used to talk. And I learned a lot from Dr. Sebi. We have to take care of our bodies, Orina, particularly when we're young. Particularly when we're young.
Wow, wow, wow. So I have to take notes.
Yes, man. And also exercise.
Mm.
You have to exercise. See, this is Black history to me. Because when you're out in the weather, like they're in Kenya, man, that weather is beautiful. You're always outside, and you might run from one place to another. You might ride a bike from one place to another. You're always athletically inclined. It's very important to keep your stomach strong. You got to do the stomach exercises. Because your stomach exercises is what builds your muscular system to protect your back. And most of the organs and glands in your body are along your back. So that when your stomach is strong, your back is strong, and your organs and glands are protected. So you got to keep doing the abdominal muscles. Build them. Even if you're just standing still, tighten your stomach. That's an exercise. Tighten your stomach. Hold it in. And then let it out. When you're breathing, when you do that deep breath, your stomach should go out. Because your diaphragm is at the bottom of your lungs, right? So when you breathe, it's like this. But when you breathe and you let your stomach protrude out, it pulls your diaphragm down and it makes your lungs open up. So you're taking in more of the air when your diaphragm goes down than if your diaphragm stays up here. See, this is what I used to teach my children in school. We used to do breathing, and we would breathe. And they used to love it because their bellies would extend out. Because when your belly extends out, your diaphragm comes down. When your diaphragm comes down, your lungs open up. And then you take in more air. More air makes your blood circulate better.
Mm.
See, this is Black history to me. This is what we did. But we did it as life. There was no special exercise. We just did it that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow, deep, deep, deep. And I have to take notes. This year, I'm kind of changing my diet. I like red meat. I used to like red meat. I used to like junk food, but this year, I'm really trying to minimize a lot of junk and a lot of a lot of sweet things. I'm really cutting on sugar. I'm using honey now. I mean, you have to trust me. That's something that I'm really, really big on this year. This year.
Hey, my brother Orina, I don't come to you as a saint. I ate meat. I ate pork. I ate all that. But once I began to learn how my body is structured, you see, you have enzymes in your body that digest things. But there are certain enzymes that digest certain things and not other things. Okay? What would take your liquids and digest your liquids through your system is not what would take solids. What would break down vegetables don't break down fruits. So think of this. Think of somebody get a hamburger. A hamburger with 2 pieces of bread, a meat patty, lettuce, tomato, and sauce. You take a bite. That bite you take takes in some bread, some meat, some tomato, some lettuce, maybe some onion, and some sauce. The enzymes that break down bread does not break down the meat. The enzymes that break down the meat, now again, tomato is a fruit, because anything with a seed is a fruit. Lettuce is a vegetable. So the enzymes that broke down the tomato did not break down the lettuce. It didn't break down the onion. So that when you're eating a sandwich with all that on there, your digestive system is going crazy because the enzymes don't know what to break down first. Should I break down the tomato? Should I break down the meat? Should I break down the lettuce? Should I break down the bread? Should I break down the onion? How about the sauce? The sauce got 3 or 4 different things in there. When we were amongst ourselves, we knew this. And so therefore, you ate things in sections. You never ate and drank at the same time. Because the enzymes that break down solids don't break down liquids. So that's why you normally should drink a half hour before you eat, or drink a half hour after you ate. But you shouldn't drink and eat at the same time. This science. And our ancestors knew this. They grew up with grandmother telling mother when she was a child, and then she remembered and she brought her children up. This is how you eat. You know, you might eat the green things, and then you might eat this section, and then you eat this section. Because when you eat in sections, then it allows the enzymes to break that down. And then you do the next thing, enzymes break that down. You eat the next thing, enzymes break that down. And then everything digests. Half hour later, you drink, and that brings the protein to the body. It's not just what you eat. It's how you eat. And the worst thing you can do is have a heavy breakfast.
Oh.
You should have a nice juice. Nice fresh juice. Because you see, that's what the word means. You break your fast. Because you've been asleep for 8 hours, 9 hours, hopefully. So you break your fast with the first meal. But the first meal you eat should not be a big meal. Because your body not ready for it. Your body been asleep. Now you throw all that, and then I hear people say the most important meal of the day is breakfast. That's true. But what you eat makes it important. Because if you have a nice juice, nice, fresh, healthy juice, you'll be okay. And you should always, when you eat any meal, you should always be 85% satisfied. You should never eat that you're full. You should always have 15%, you have a tinge of hunger. You still could have eaten more. Because then that's when you sit down and you can't even get up. You're so tired. Because you're full. Your gut is full. You should only eat 85% to satiate your hunger. Leave yourself 15%, you're still a little hungry. See, we've learned gluttony. We just eat. You know, I enjoy eating. I like eating. 85%. Nice salad. Nice plant-based food sometimes. I enjoy soup. Because if you put the right things in the soup, that brings everything that you need for your body. So I enjoy that. But again, going back, my brother Orina, to Black history, this is what we should be learning. Not just who we are as a people and what we've done in the pyramids and all about, you know, we also need health and nutrition. And see, at your age now, if you begin to focus on that, you'll be good. You'll be good. Because you're young enough to be able to correct what whatever it is, and you build up a very strong immune system. Make sure you're eating foods that are rich in iron. You know, but you see, there in Kenya, it's beautiful, fresh, man, fresh. You know, mango here, man, ain't nothing like mango in Kenya.
For sure. And you know what? Now, you know, it's so hot now. It's the dry season now in Kenya. So there's a lot of mangoes that are flooding the market. So I'm just blending mangoes every day.
Oh man. Oh man, let me tell you something, brother. When I went to Jamaica, first time I taste avocado, mango, watermelon, red. The seeds were black. You know, here in New York, you know, you do the best you can, but it's not the same. Coconut water, you know? Wow. So you have a chance there in Kenya to have that fresh, natural food. Here we don't. We do the best we can. I know I go to a brother that has watermelon where he goes to the Caribbean. In fact, he went to Liberia because he's making a deal with Liberians to start to bring some of the fresh fruits and vegetables from Liberia to New York.
Oh, wow.
It's called Black Seed Brothers. If you Google him, it's called Black Seed Brothers.
Okay.
He has a
Black
truck.
Seed.
Yeah, Black Seed, SEED, Black Seed Brothers. And it's one of the few places where you can get watermelon with seeds. Because I eat the seeds.
Me too.
Because if people think the watermelon is good, well, the watermelon came from the seed.
Wow. Well, you know, Elder, back to Black history. You know, for me, the best, for me, my personal favorite Black history moment, my best revolution to me that I've read and that I have studied and that I've, you know, that I've said that this is the most pivotal moment in our global African race is the Haitian Revolution. I mean, that is the foundation of many revolutions that came afterwards. And even the Mau Mau Revolution, the Natana Revolution, all the revolutions in Africa and in the diaspora were somewhat inspired by the Haitian Revolution. What is your best and what do you think is the most pivotal Black history moment that we have ever had in our race?
I've often returned. Did you see the documentary 1804?
No.
Okay, that's a documentary that I was in. It
Okay.
follows in the Hidden Colors series with Tariq Nasheed.
I have. Actually, I have.
1804.
Yeah, to Tariq Nasheed. Yeah, I've seen it.
And I was in that piece, and you know, I've always there are books like The Black Jacobins by C.L.R. James. There's The Irritated Genie by Dr. Wade Nobles. There are books that depict what actually happened. in that revolution. And another very important thing, my brother Orina, is that one of the things that I say in 1804 is that anytime you think you're going to have a revolution and women are not involved, that's not a revolution. That's not but a street fist fight. The role that women played in all of our revolutions, everywhere they've been, women have played a pivotal role. The Haitian Revolution began far earlier than what most people talk about. It was something that was, and you see, the thing is this. When you break down how people came here, we call it the triangular trade. We say from Europe to Africa to the American hemisphere. But it wasn't triangle. It was rectangle. Because a very important concept is that Europe went into Africa. From Africa, they went to the Caribbean. From the Caribbean, they came to America. And from America, they returned back to Europe. It was 4, not 3. What we don't, as it relates to history, we don't realize that the great majority during the enslavement process of Africans that came to America, out of every 100 Africans, only 4 came to America. The great majority of us came from Central, South, and the Caribbean, America. And it was in the Dominican Republic that the Africans were brought to be broken. That's where they were tortured, in the Dominican Republic. And many of the Africans escaped. And they went to the western side of the island, the warriors, men and women that fought, the Spaniards, the French. They went across what's called the River of Blood that separates what today is the Dominican Republic from Haiti. So the reason why Haiti was so successful in their revolution was because these were the warriors that had escaped being enslaved. These were the warriors. These were the Igbo of Nigeria. These were the Asante of Ghana. These were the Kuba of Central Africa. Because many Africans stolen also came from Central Africa. This is something that goes over, because we all think that was only West Africa, Senegal, Ghana, Nigeria. Okay, yes, that's true. But there were also Congolese that were stolen.
Yeah.
And brought to this hemisphere. And so what they did is they went deep inside their spirituality. And so you have the brother Boukman. Okay, Boukman. But also people don't focus on Sister Cecile, because she was the Mambo. She was the high priestess that they met at Alligator Pond the night before the revolution. And Boukman told the warriors, cast aside your white God and embrace your African spirituality. You are free. He didn't say you would be free. He didn't say you could be free. He didn't say you might be free. He said you are free. When you cast aside your white God and you embrace your African spirituality, you are free. And so this inspired the revolution. Of course, you know, Boukman was betrayed. And then you had like Toussaint Louverture.
Mhm.
You had Dessalines. Now, if you want to know a warrior,
Yeah.
Dessalines.
Mhm.
And then following him was Christophe. But Dessalines, that was the brother that laid stuff out. He was the one that finished the game.
Yeah.
That's like in South Africa. Many people focus on Shaka Zulu. Great warrior.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But Bambata was the brother that gave Britain a hard time. This is the spirit that we had. Haiti, for all of us, I always say that is a model of a people that have had enough. And when you've had enough, what you gonna do? And IT showed us. But you want to know something else about that revolution? The other thing that I think is very important is the economic system that they put in place when they were freed. You see, they weren't freed. They freed themselves. Ain't nobody said, okay, we're going to emancipate you. No, they said, we're going to emancipate ourselves. Their economic system was 25, 25, 50. 25% of what you made went to the government for services, medical, dental, whatever you needed. 25% of what you made went to the government. 25% you kept for you and your personal development. 50% went into your business. Not someone else's business, your business. So for me, 25%, like if you were to make it happen like what I do, 25% of what I make in a year would go to the government. 25% would be my personal finances. 50% would go into my educational program. I funded my own business. I didn't put my money out there for someone else's business. And that's what IET did. IET created that type of economic system that the individual was constantly growing. His business and her business was constantly growing because they invested in themselves. 25% was your personal wealth. 25% went in, and that is what democratic socialism is. That's democratic socialism. Democrat, people power. Socialism is that the society takes care of itself. Don't go to rich people. You are the rich person. And it encourages you to work hard. But in this hemisphere, IET, and also you have people like Nat Turner, but you also had people like Denmark Vesey who preceded. You see, so there were many revolutionaries, and here in this hemisphere, we all inspired each other. Even like, for instance, one thing, Arena, in today's world, what you got to look at, the changes that occurred, World War II. The end of World War II, 1945, was very important. Yeah. But you don't understand 1945 if you don't understand World War I. And you can't understand World War I if you don't understand the Berlin Conference that carved up Africa, 1885. Because Britain did pretty good. France did pretty good. Italy didn't do good at all. There was only two countries that wasn't carved up and given to Europe. Belgium, or had Congo,
Mhm.
Liberia and Ethiopia. Liberia wasn't touched because they had the rubber industry there.
Firestone.
Okay. And everybody wanted the rubber because that was the next thing coming up for the airplanes and for the cars, the tanks, and all the rest of that. That was the new industry coming, transportation. Rubber was very important. Ethiopia was mountainous. So nobody could even fight the Ethiopians. Because you see, like, when you see all these marathon that we have all around the world, you see who's winning them all? Tanzania, Kenya, Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Because those marathon runners run up in the mountains.
Yeah. Every
Barefoot.
morning.
Yes, barefoot. And the thing is I spent time in college in Colorado, here in the United States. Colorado is got the Rocky Mountains. And I was on the track team. And I remember there were people that would be running track and their nose would start to bleed. Because when you're in the mountains, the oxygen is very thin.
Yeah.
It's not easy to run in mountains. So that when you have brothers and sisters from Kenya, Tanzania, Ethiopia that run in the mountains, your lungs are already prepared because you've been running in thin air. So when you come down into New York or when you go into Boston, it's like you can just run with no problem at all. And so when you begin to look at the way the situation sets itself up, you can see what we're actually experiencing as a people and where we have to go with this and what we have to do.
Wow. 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 And you know, one thing that makes me so sick when I read about Haiti is how they had to pay reparations to France right after they got right after they grabbed their independence. Nobody talks about that. I mean, you pay reparations to the people who oppressed you. Do you know how crazy that sounds?
Yes, yes. Do you know here in the United States, when the Africans were emancipated here in the United States, that built this country, those who enslaved them got paid. And the people who were enslaved got nothing. But you see what's happening in Burkina Faso and in Mali and in Niger? There are countries now that they're saying, no more. No more. We ain't giving you no more.
Yeah.
No more money. You ain't coming in here taking all of our gems, our minerals, everything that is of value. No more. You see, because we're waking up. And you see, you have to go back, like I say, World War II, Africans from around the world, here in the United States, they all went to fight in World War II. In the Caribbean, Jamaica, Trinidad, they fought on behalf of Britain. Puerto Rico, Cuba, Dominican Republic, they fought for the United States. Haiti fought for France. Here in the United States, we fought for the United States. We were the most decorated groups of people in World War II. They didn't want to segregate. My father was in World War II. My father was in Japan, Okinawa to be exact. And my father told me that here's the reason why they integrated the military in the United States. They didn't do it because they wanted to. What they used to do is they used to send the black troops in first. And if they were fired upon, they wouldn't send the white troops in. But what the Japanese started doing was they'd let the black troops go through. And so they would send the white troops, and the white troops would be destroyed. This is part of the story that's not told. This is my father telling me this story, because he was there. This is what the United States military used to do. They used black people as sheep to get shot. But then the enemy, Japan, got smart and started letting the black troops go through. They were all up in the trees. They'd let the black troops go through, and then when the white troops came behind, they would fire down on them. That's why they integrated the army, because they couldn't use the black troops anymore. They were the most decorated. In Africa, most decorated. They fought with Nubian power. In the Caribbean, they fought with the Royal Air Force, the Royal Army, all that. Black troops from Jamaica, Trinidad. In America, the Tuskegee Airmen.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted them to go through with them because they knew that the Tuskegee Airmen, they were solid. Then the black troops came back to the United States. And the European people thought that they were going to tell those black troops to go to the back of the bus. Sit in the back of the bus. And, you know, my father said that the black, black military people in general would tell white people, you know, I got a medal for shooting a white man that looked like you. Do you think I'm going to sit in the back of the bus? That's what started the movement here in America after 1945. That's why you have Dr. Martin Luther King, and you have Adam Clayton Powell, because after World War II, black people had been to war. They put their life on the line. They had guns. They shot white people and got a medal for it. And then came back to the United States, and white people thought that they were going to treat black people the way they did before they went to World War II. They said, no, that's not going to happen no more. And that was part of the movement. And then I say foundational Black American, Africans whose ancestry came from the plantations of the United States. My father's from Alabama, my mother's from Boston. We began to fight because when the civil rights laws were broken down in 1964 and 1965, we fought, and that's what broke down the immigration laws. And when the immigration, because there was only really three types of people in America going back into the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century. It was black people, white people, and Native American people. Basically, only those three. But by 1966, the immigration laws broke down. And black people in America fought to bring black people from around the world to America. William Leo Hansberry was one of them. He got scholarships for students, African students. Kwame Nkrumah was a student of his. Nnamdi Azikiwe of Nigeria was a student of his. Okay? Brought him here. Got scholarships to go to Howard University, to a historically black college. Broke down the immigration laws. There were groups of black people that fought to bring Africans here. And one of the people that came because of our fight to bring our brothers and sisters to America was a man with the last name Obama. And so Barack Obama met a woman and they had a son named Barack Obama. That's how he came to America. Was his father was brought here because the singer Miriam Makeba, the musician Hugh Masekela, they were brought here through our fighting to bring our brothers and sisters to America because we understood the diasporian connection. William Leo Hansberry was honored by Haile Selassie.
Wow.
He got the first Haile Selassie Award for his work in bringing African students to America and getting them scholarships and getting them into schools. This is the history of what was happening here in the 60s and in the 70s. It was quite an active time, and I was right in the middle of it. I was young, but I was in it. And I watched, and I saw. And I've seen over years brothers and sisters from the diaspora coming here, and we're expanding our culture in a way that we're beginning to see that we're all alike. I went to Holland to do a presentation in Amsterdam. And you see, in Holland, right outside of Amsterdam, there's a place known as Harlem, but they spell it Haarlem. You see, because New York was run by the Dutch. New York was called New Amsterdam.
Oh.
And the Dutch ran things here. They enslaved the Africans here, the Dutch. And Britain and Holland, the Netherlands, made a deal. They said, we'll give you Guyana. The British said, we'll give you Guyana, and you give us New Amsterdam. And so when the British got New Amsterdam, they changed the name and named it after the Duke of York. And now it's called New York.
Ah, okay.
Okay. And that basically is how it worked out. And so when we look at it, and when we understand what actually has happened over time in history, we understand that when you understand history, then everything else comes to be. And so it becomes very important that we begin to understand what it is that we have to do. And it just, I'd like to make a correction. It wasn't Guyana. It was Suriname. It was Suriname.
Oh, Suriname, okay.
Suriname was run by the British. And so that's why Suriname now basically speaks Dutch.
Yes, that's true.
You see? And here in New York, used to be called New Amsterdam, after Amsterdam in Holland. So this is the history that we see. When the Dutch brought black people, the largest plantation in the 13 colonies at one time in history was in Brooklyn, New York. Bigger than anything down south. See, we always think that plantations and enslavement was only in the South. There was enslavement in all 13 colonies. Black people weren't. In fact, in New York, there's a place called Battery Park. It's down in New York and down in Manhattan. And that's where the boats would come with Africans that were stolen from Africa and brought to New York. And they would take the Africans off the boat and they would walk them down this long street from the west of Manhattan Island to the east of Manhattan Island. And there were times they had a lot of Africans. So they would not bring them all the way across. They would put them in prisons on this street. Today, that street is called Chambers Street because there are prisons. If you come to New York and you go down to Chambers Street, if you go deep inside, you'll see. And you know where they were marching them to? They were marching them over to a place that black people built, and guess what it was called? It was called Wall Street. Because that's where they sold Africans.
Oh.
And so Wall Street, where they sell stocks and bonds today, you know what that word really is? Africans were considered to be chattel. That's why it's called chattel slavery, right?
Yeah.
Stocks and bonds comes from the concept of livestock in bondage. Stocks in bonds, but it's really livestock in bondage. And just like they,
So we were the first stocks, literally.
And in bondage. That's right. We were the stocks, the livestock. The same Wall Street that you see where they're making all these deals and all that paper's going around and you see, that's where black people were. On crates, being sold. Orina, this is our history. But look at where we are now. You see, my thing when I talk to children and when I talk to our people, and we talk about the horrors of what we went through, as horrible as it is, Orina, you have inherited greatness because we're still here. We're still here. And we're doing better than we used to. We ain't doing as good as we should, but we're doing better than we used to. And so all we have to do is keep on keeping on. Put up a good fight.
Yeah.
Put up a Haitian Revolution. Put up a Nat Turner Revolution. Put up a Mau Mau Revolution. It ain't over till we win. And your generation has to believe that and live that. And it's up to us to come together and stop fighting each other and begin to build bonds. When I went to Holland and I did the presentation, the title of my tour when I went to Amsterdam and to Holland, it was titled From Harlem, Holland to Harlem, New York, the ties that bind us. We are bound together as a people, spiritual. You see, and what we're doing now is when you think of the word community, it comes from common unity. There are ties that bind us. There are differences. There are differences as it relates to where we are as a people. Here in the even in the United States, there's differences between black folk in New York and black folk in Chicago and black folk in California. There are differences. Our geographic location has differences, but we're the same people. Same spirit, different soul, same people. There are differences between a Puerto Rican and a Cubano. Same Spanish, different people. Same spirit, different soul. I used to tell a story to my children in the Bronx when I used to teach, when I'd see them fighting amongst themselves. Different cultures, but all black. Everybody black, but different cultures. Some spoke Spanish, some spoke English, some spoke Twi from Ghana, okay? Some spoke Yoruba or Igbo from Nigeria. And I would tell them a story about how we got here. And that our ancestors were stolen from Africa. And they were brought to the Caribbean. And they were tortured. They were broken to become enslaved. And those that could be broken could be sold. Because you can't sell an African that can't be broke. Because the moment they go, they're going to try to get away. Or they're going to try to start some trouble. So you can't sell them. Nobody want to buy an African that cannot be broken. And so I give them an example that in the Dominican Republic, where they were broken, the sister, there's a sister and brother stolen. The sister couldn't be broken. She was a warrior. She couldn't be broken. But the brother was broken. So the sister remained in the Dominican Republic, and the brother who was broken was sold to South Carolina in the United States. The sister had family. She was still enslaved, but she couldn't be broken. She had family. And some of her children were sold to Puerto Rico. Some of them were sold to Haiti. Now remember, the original Africans were stolen from West Africa. So they could be Twi from Ghana. They could be Igbo or Yoruba from Nigeria. The brother who was broken, he had family. And some were sold to Alabama. Some were sold down into Florida. And then I say, okay, now, what I want you to do is I want to bring you up to 1950. And some of the family of the brother that was in South Carolina and Alabama, they moved up to the Bronx, where we are. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. And they had children and children. And their children go to the school in the Bronx. And the sister that couldn't be broken from Puerto Rico, some stayed in Puerto Rico. There were some in Dominican Republic. There were some in Haiti. And I say, now I want to bring you to today. And in this case, I'm going to bring us, this story, to today, February 2026. We decided we're going to go on vacation. And the family in the Bronx, remember that's part of the family of the brother, he decides that he's going to go to Puerto Rico for vacation, going to bring the family with him to Puerto Rico. And this family, now remember, this brother's original family is from West Africa. And I'm pointing this out to the children as I'm going along in this story. And I said, so the family that went in vacation in Puerto Rico, they're laying on the beach and they're having a good time. And all of a sudden, people from Puerto Rico come on to the beach. And they're right next to the people that are from the Bronx. And I say, now, the ones from Puerto Rico speak Spanish. The ones from the Bronx, they speak English. Could they be related? Could the family that was from that sister's blood and the family from the Bronx that was from the brother's blood, could they be related? And the children say, yeah, they could be related. The way you told that story, they could be related. I say, yeah, they could be related. And I said, now suppose somebody runs a flight from island to island. He has a small plane and he takes people from island to island. And he's originally from Haiti. And he's on the beach in Puerto Rico. He just dropped his friends off from, and I say, they start talking to each other on the beach in Puerto Rico. The family from the Bronx, the family from Puerto Rico, and the family from Haiti. All of them have the same lineage of that brother and sister. And I say, could they be related? And the children say, yeah, they could be related. And then my next question is, and I ask us, if that's true, could some of us in this classroom be related to each other and not know it? And the children, smart, our children are smart. They know. They say, yeah. And I say, well, until we know better, let's treat each other like we're related to each other. And Orina, that's what we have to do. Africa is on the rise. Africa's moving. They're getting rid of those shackles. We here in this part of the world, we're losing our shackles on our minds. That's what Black history helps you to do. Black history helps you come to understand who you are as a person and what your divine destiny is and what we have to do as a people for our children that we may never know. I have 100-year plan. And I'm planning for children that are born in the year 2126. That's my plan. And it's a worldwide plan. I've tended to move away from the word Pan-African. I use the word Nebu Afrika. Nebu Afrika is an African word. Pan-African is a Roman word. I use the word Nebu Afrika. Nebu means all. N-E-B-U. It means all. All. Af. It's the flesh. It's the matter that's on our earth. Matter. Ra is light and heat energy from the sun. And Ka is the animating spirit. So Pan-African means, Pan means all. Africa means all Africa. Nebu Afrika is much larger than that. It is an unconditional love for our people. All people. Unconditional. I may not agree with you. Okay? And I don't have to agree with you, but I don't have to be disagreeable. We can have differences. We are not a monolithic people. We have different views. We come in many different shapes and sizes. And that's healthy because we learn from each other when there's difference. We don't learn when there's similarity. We just agree that we are similar in that thought. But when there's a difference, we make each other think. We make each other grow. So I don't have a problem with difference. Different way of thinking. We can think differently. It's all good. And so Nebu Afrika is the spirit, the energy of the light, the heat and sound energy of the universe that embodies us and that connects us. the ties that bind us worldwide as human beings. And we have to do this for our children, Orina. We have to do this for children that we have never met physically and they don't know us physically. Just like we're talking about Carter G. Woodson. We don't know him. But everything he did for us. Arturo Schomburg, he was Puerto Riqueño. He was from Puerto Rico. His name don't sound Spanish, but he was from Puerto Rico. He was told in Puerto Rico that black people didn't have history. He came to the United States and he started collecting books, studying our history. Right now in Harlem on 135th Street, there is a library called the Arturo Schomburg for research in African history. You see, this is our history. This is who we are as a people. And we have to begin to understand the work that we have to do as a people, Brother Orina. The debt that we owe our ancestors that came before us. Your ancestors there in Kenya that put everything they had on the line for you to be able to be who you are. My ancestors that put everything on the line for me to become who I am. We don't have a right to give up now. We don't have a right to turn our back now. They worked together. They had differences of opinion, but they had an unconditional love for each other, and that's what made this happen. And that's what we have to do. And that's the message I'd like to give to my family worldwide. We must unite. We must stop fighting amongst ourselves. We must respect each other and understand that everywhere we are, from Haiti to America to Kenya to Nigeria to Southern Africa, we fought for our freedom. And we fought for children who would not know us. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Think of that, Orina. Think of everything that you're doing now in the present. You're doing it to create a world for children that will not ever have seen you personally. May only see your face in books or in this interview. In 100 years from now, they'll come on and this interview will come to them. And they say, here these two brothers, Orina and Kaba Kamene, and look at that. Look, this is part of the history. And they will be so far beyond us knowing their history and culture. They'll be so far beyond. They'll learn things that I don't know. They'll learn things that you don't know. But what we're doing is making it possible for them to learn it. This is what we have to do.
Wow.
Have 100-year plan. Not just one generation, 5 generations. Where do you see black people in the year 2120, 2126? Where do you see them? What do you see them doing? Can you imagine what our ancestors in 1926 thought? When they said, where do we want our children to be in 2026? Look at how far we've come. Think of what the world was like in 1926. My mother was 3 years old in 1926. Think of your ancestors in Kenya. In 1926, what were they going through? But they say, don't make no difference. We're going to make this happen. Because in 2026, we're going to have an ancestor, a descendant by the name of Orina, that's going to have a program here in Kenya. And he's going to be talking to a brother from Bronx, New York, named Kaba Kamene. So now the question is, Orina, and to myself, where do we see our people in the year 2126? What do we want for them? And from that point, let's plan the future together.
You know, I like what you said about World War II, and that's why I keep on getting mad when I see us fighting each other. Because, Elder, let me tell you, the same thing that happened to African Americans after World War II is the exact same thing that happened to Kenyans in 1940. Because after 1945, because Kenyans also,
Yes.
some Kenyans were also forced to fight for the British.
Yes.
And after 1945, we were like, oh, so these white people can bleed, these white people can die, they can, oh, so they're humans too. Oh, okay. So it fueled the Mau Mau, it fueled all these revolutions that came after 1945. Look
That's
at the parallel. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And you know, Brother Orina, that parallel is all over the world. All over the world, the same thing happened. That same parallel. That same experience. And it all came from 1885 when Africa was carved up and some European countries did not get anything. They were upset. That's what started World War I. They'll tell you it was the assassination of the Archduke Ferdinand. That didn't start World War I. What started World War I is other European countries wanted the wealth of Africa. And because it was carved up amongst certain European countries, they said they wanted some. That's what started World War I. And there was a man that was upset that Germany lost, and he promised to get the fatherland back, Vaterland. Mussolini in Italy, Franco in Spain, Japan, and Hitler said, nah. Because, you know, the first people that were murdered in Germany were not people of Jewish faith. The first people that were murdered in World War II were the blacks that stayed in Germany after World War II. Remember, Hitler was not creating a new religion. He was creating a new race. And so that's what started the and then they saw people of Jewish faith as being mixed. They saw them as black. That's why Hitler said they're impure. And so that's what started. Then World War II came. But then black people participated in World War I to a certain extent. But in World War II, that changed the game. Even women. My aunt was part of. There's a movie out. It's called the Women of the 4 888s. These women, black women, were in World War II. My aunt was in World War II. She was in France, Rouen, France. So I have family. I was in the military during Vietnam.
Wow.
So I understand what goes on. But World War II was a turning point 80 years ago, or 81 now. World War II was a turning point in our lives. And just like you're saying about what happened in Kenya and the Mau Mau, okay? When they went over there and they fought, and they were given awards, and they were given medals for bravery, and they were killing white people. They came back here. They went back to Kenya, disrespected. They said, nah, not gonna happen. It's quite a story.
It is.
Quite a story. So, my brother,
Yeah.
we have work we have to do together as a family for our children and for children yet to be born. We need to prepare the world for them. And what we do today will prepare the world for them. They deserve the best because they are the best.
Wow. Well, Elder, so to end on a high note, what would you like to say, as a word of encouragement or as words of wisdom to all the Black people watching this from all over the world? One thing about my platform, Sell Africa to Africans, is that there's more African Americans, there's more Africans in Europe, there's more Africans in the Caribbean who watch this more than continental Africans. So this is spread through, all continents. I mean, what would you like to say to all Black people watching this?
I'd like to tell you to tell the children it's going to be all right. And I'd like for us to understand that Dr. Martin Luther King, the night before he died, he told us that this was April 3rd, 1968, in a place called Memphis, Tennessee. And he told us that we as a people will get to the promised land. And he wanted us to know that night that we as a people would get to the promised land because within 24 hours, he was assassinated. April 4th, 1968. I want us to know that no matter what you see happening out here, the craziness, it's all in divine order. It's all in divine order. And don't get distracted by the nonsense that you see. It's going to be all right. We have difficult days ahead. That's what Dr. King said. We have difficult days ahead. If you Google his last speech, if you Google, I've been to the mountaintop, and listen to the last 1 minute and 19 seconds of it, he prophesied for us something. And he said, we'd get to the promised land. And we're on the way. We see around the world, there are phenomenal things happening. And for our sisters, we're moving into the age of Hapi. Some people call it the age of Aquarius. We're moving into a new age. It's a feminine energy age. We're coming out of a male energy. We're coming out of Pisces, the age of the fish. Our sisters worldwide, you can see they're taking a dramatic role in changing the planet. Everywhere I look, in Nigeria, in South Africa, in America, in the Caribbean, I'm watching sisters taking their rightful place. Ma'at is balance. We do not put our women above us, below us, ahead of us, or behind us. When the king and queen sits, they sit beside each other in equality. So our sisters are taking their rightful place and they're doing great things. And we as brothers must support them as they should support us. The African woman is a very special person. She is the mother of the planet. And the African man is the father of the planet. And I know we're dealing with some really crazy people, but I'm going to tell you now, this civilization is falling. Just like the Roman Empire fell, just like the Greek Empire fell, just like the Persian Empire fell. They did not last more than 500 years. The Persian Empire lasted from 525 to 332, a little over, 180 something years. The Greeks came in 332 BC, and by 30 BC, they were done. That's a little over, 300 years. Then the Roman Empire took over at 30 BC, and they were gone by 426. So that's only what, 456 years. And they all fell for the same reason. Just like this one is falling. There's two forms of government. Democratia, it means people power. Feudalism means few rule. You have people rule, you have few rule. And I just want our people to understand. Find your divine order. Find what it was that you were put on the planet to do and begin to do it. And have a 100-year plan. Plan it for where we see ourselves in the year 2126. It's going to be all right, family. I want you to know that. Don't let this craziness get in your way. Don't let it distract you. This ain't nothing but the same old Roman and Greek Empire. We got to get ourselves together. But first, we have to love ourselves.
Yeah.
You have to love yourself. Because when you love yourself, you will know yourself. You got to love yourself. You got to love the melanin in your skin, every kink in your hair, the width of your nose, the shape of your lips. You have to love yourself because the Creator don't make mistakes. And everything about you is what the Creator wanted you to look like. Love yourself, own your greatness, and do your thing. Keep on keeping on because it ain't over till we win. I'd also like to recommend that you go to my website, www.kabakamene.com. You put your email in, you'll get a 6-day free e-course and a free study guide. And you'll also have access to whatever is up. My streams are there, my books are there. And I also encourage you to go to my Instagram page. That's my community, what I consider to be my community bulletin board, where I put up different pieces. I do Instagram lives. I share information with you about things that I think is relevant for us as a people worldwide. So I recommend you go to my website, www.kabakamene.com. And I think you can put that in.
I will.
Yeah.
I will.
And then my Instagram page. But, I just want to thank you, Arena, for what you're doing, bringing the information to the people, wherever they may be in our diaspora. And your importance will grow. You just keep on keeping on. Your reputation will grow, your people will grow, and there on the continent herself, as people see how relevant and important you are to the information that you're sharing, the people that you bring to them to talk, you'll grow. I've been doing this for a while, brother, and when I first started, I wasn't getting everybody that I wanted to either. But I just never gave up because I knew that people would come around, and they will come around in time. So keep on doing what you're doing, brother. I'm proud of what you're doing. I'm proud of you. And give my regards to all my brothers and sisters in Kenya, one of the original homes of the human family. And I just look forward to the future, brother.
Wow. Thank you so much for coming, Elder. You're one of the people who, let me tell you, you don't understand the impact you have in shaping the Pan-African mind that I have right now. I mean, it's people like you, people like Professor Smalls, people like it's so much. I can spend the whole day naming people who have inspired me, and you're one of them. You're one of them. So thank you.
That is good.
And come back again. I'd like the next session because I know you know a lot about spirituality and because here in Kenya, let me tell you, here in Kenya, Kenya, if you ask me, is the most westernized country in Africa. Like we are so westernized to a point where everything in our society, almost everything is westernized, and including religion. So we like whenever we talk about spirituality, people start shaking because now that they think about witchcraft and oh no, So maybe the next session we'll talk about spirituality and what it really means and how we can sort of get back to it. Yeah, that book, yeah.
Oh yeah. And you know what they'll see is everything they practice in the religions came from them. They'll see it. And the way I wrote my book, Spirituality Before Religions, wasn't meant to insult. It just opened up a new dialogue as to what was spirituality. Religions are the children of spirituality. I don't have a problem with religion. I have a problem with the interpretations of the religion. It's a beautiful thing. But your interpretations have to be indigenous to you and not through the eyes of somebody else. In time, our people will see. They will feel. And the work you're doing is opening up the door for that to happen. So just keep on doing what you're doing, Brother Orina. Keep on keeping on.
You too, Elder. You too. You too. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been a good one, guys. It's been a good one. Kindly like, share, comment, subscribe, support Sell Afrika to Africans, support Kaba Kamene. I'll put all the handles and the website and everything. Support the movement. Support. Thank you. Thank you, guys.